Hello, and welcome to the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of Indie PopCon, Gen Con, and the gaming capital of the world, we are The Established Facts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 197 of The Established Facts.
Did you seriously just say 197?
197
Pay attention.
of The Established Facts.
That's a lot of work. I'm just saying.
I remember, like, episode 20 when we were looking at each other going, what are we going to keep talking about? Are people going to listen to us? I mean, second, no.
We still
but
ask
it's
that
okay.
question.
We are still talking.
We have
That's
a
really
dedicated
what
audience
matters.
of about 7 people.
We do.
And we love all of you.
Yeah, and that's and
sue
thank
us.
you for being on the mics today. Thank you all. Oh my goodness. Well, I got stuck in at least according to the last episode, 2-week dungeon.
2-week
Yes,
dungeon.
we did.
We're glad you finally crawled
You're
out.
welcome.
That's it. Well, you know, when you are a GM and you have players who, you know, do or don't want to do the things that you would like them to do, you know, it tends to slow things down
Then you
a
just
little bit.
pick it up and move it, so they have to do it.
I mean, that is true. That is true. And then I've also had some family stuff that I've been dealing with in my wife's side of the family. So that's been a little bit of a distraction, but I'm glad to be back. We've got a table
We're
full
glad
of
to have
people.
you back, because me hosting is not a good idea.
No?
Oh, I don't know. I thought you did pretty well as a film.
I agree.
I agree. I listened. I'll be honest. I didn't listen to all of part 1 and part 2 of the dungeon building thing, but I am planning on it because I really enjoyed what I did here. But I did get a chance to listen to a little bit of part 2, and I thought it was great. I thought it was fun. So I'm excited about.
You can't hear me blush over the radio.
All right, I'm excited about getting into what we're going to talk about on episode 197 because I think we're going to extend upon that theme and actually play around with building some dungeony stuff.
Let it grow
So-
and develop.
That being said, let's go ahead and go around the table, introduce everybody who is on a mic, and then we will get into our discussion. So, starting to my right.
Well, I think they already know I'm on the mic, but this is
That's
Dr.
true.
Deb.
That's true.
I'm not on a mic. I'm in front of a mic. My name is Lance.
He said on my right, not on a mic. I'm Vanessa.
I'm Avita.
And I own the mic. This is Josh.
Mike
And
lives
I
2 houses down.
am the mic. Wait, I don't know. No.
You replaced the mic.
I
but you're
replaced
not.
the mic.
Dang it. I got to get back into this. All right. I am your host, Big Don. Thank you so much for checking us out, listening. If this is your first ever episode of The
sorry.
Established Facts, you are in for a roller coaster. Thank you so much for listening for all of you people who have been listening for a while. What is it, 2011?
They are some brave souls.
8 years in July.
Yeah.
wanna think
Episode
about that
200 at
long.
PopCon.
Episode 200 at PopCon and 8 years at Gen Con.
8 years at Gen Con. That's where we're at right now, people. We're worse than Supernatural at this point. We're-
Don't mention that because the next season of Supernatural is their last.
I'm
so-
excited about that. I think it's going to be really good. I'm catching up with season 14 right now
All right,
on
don't
Netflix.
mention that.
I'm
We're
on-
talking about Game of Thrones.
Season 8.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Don't talk about
Speaking
that.
of
I'm
season
one.
8.
I'm one episode into season 8.
Yeah.
Because my HBO Go app on my phone would not work, so
Oh,
I had
no.
to wait for my brother to download it onto his Xbox One so I could catch up.
So back to dungeons.
So,
Well,
well, I
that
mean,
is
there are
a Game of
dungeons.
Thrones.
There are dungeons in Game of Thrones.
There are.
That's beside the point.
All right. So,
Built those.
episode 197, BYOD. Build your own dungeon.
Oh,
Oh, that was
okay.
bring your
You like
own
that?
dungeon. I'm
No.
like, bring it? Okay.
I mean, yes.
sort of.
That's kind of what we did today.
Some of us did.
That's what some of us did.
Not
Some
all
of us brought and some of us built.
So,
That's right.
Okay, all
That's right.
This is actually building a dungeon part 4. Just so
That's
you know.
fine.
Is
Okay.
it?
But Build Your Own Dungeon,
I don't know
like
why.
that too.
I don't know why after
Part 3.
8 years and
Counting's the
190.
thing.
Look
Part
at this.
3.
Numbers are
See what's
hard.
happening.
It's hard.
I'm an engineer. I let computers do it for me.
I literally tried to say something to you, and you talked over me the entire time.
I love you.
I don't know why I'm surprised. It's 197 episodes of this. All right, so I would like to start our episode off with our versus topic of under prep versus over prep. Now, let me explain the parameters for those of you who have no idea where my brain is.
I need a definition.
Where my headspace is. Yes, for those of you who need a definition. All right. As a storyteller, I'm not going to limit it to being a dungeon master or being a game master, because there are some people at the table that haven't gotten a chance to do that yet. As a storyteller, which I think we all are in some way, shape, or form, do you tend to be the one who prefers to over-prepare a story or have lots and lots and lots and lots of prepared details that may or may not be encountered in the storytelling? Or are you one who has kind of a bare bones story and what some might consider under prepping to take into account and consideration the player interaction with the story that you have prepared? So we're going to go around the table and choose which we prefer, to over prepare or to under prepare. Now, these are positive spins, so we're not talking about, being in a frustrating situation where, we've prepared for the last 2 weeks and then within a matter of 15 minutes, every plot point and hook that you may have considered is no longer valid. But, I would say as a GM...
The struggle's real.
Yeah, the struggle is real, absolutely. So let's go ahead and start the way that we introduced our panel with Dr. Deb. Dr. Deb, would, as a storyteller and someone who is inexperienced with being a dungeon master... Oh, hey, all right, Sam, the destroyer of living rooms.
How about we go on to the person beyond me while I go check to see if we have a house?
Lance.
Just a second.
It just so happens that I was looking right at you when that happened. As someone who has had some experience with running some fun games and dungeons and things like that, are you one to over-prepare or under-prepare? What do you prefer?
I am an over-preparer.
Okay.
It comes from days of working in the military and especially radio, where you have to work things down to the exact second.
Gotcha. Okay. Vanessa.
I would say I over-prepare the main bullet points, but I leave the sub-bullet points very under-prepared for fluidity.
Fluidity. Okay.
Yes. So if there are certain points that I'm like, okay, this has to be made, then they're well over-prepared, but I have no qualms with picking them up and moving them. Like, you went right, I needed you to go left. All right, fine, it's to the right.
Sure. Okay. Avital.
Well, I have run a total of one
Fantastic game.
module, I guess you could say. It wasn't a dungeon, it was kind of a story and storytelling.
In the Ozarks.
In the Ozarks, yes.
Where we saved dragons from the Hoover, the dam.
Spoilers.
Sorry.
But I have run that twice since we were driving to the lake and I was with my mother, and I told her about the whole thing, and then she said, "Do you have the things you need to run that?" I was like, "I mean, yeah, it's like digital and everything." She's like, "Can you run it for the family?" And I was like, okay. And so things happened much differently because there was different people. One of my cousins put one of her skills as being able to talk to animals. Yeah, so
Smart.
Was she a
had to-
druid or just some
no
crazy
this
kook in
this
a
was
bohemian skirt? And
this is Quags. This is Quags.
oh, right,
So-
right. I couldn't remember what system you ran. That's great.
Very simple. Anyways, so I think for me, I probably tend to be over prepared, but I don't think I was over prepared for that. I pretty much had like well, I want them to go to this place and this place and this place. But, there wasn't any specific order because people went different places in different orders in the two different groups.
Sure.
I just know that I personally tend to be over-prepared because I worry about things, even if I know that I could just
wing it. Yeah.
Even though I know I have those skills, I still am going to tend to be over-prepared.
Sure. It's a comfort level thing.
Yeah,
it's a comfort level thing. Well, and especially if it's your first game that you've run. I mean, there's a lot. There is a massive difference between being a contributing person to the party as a player and being the contributing person of the story as the person running the story.
Right.
Like my first game was Candyland.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes, it was.
Absolutely.
I remember.
Joshy.
I am very much an underprepared person from the aspect that I tend to prefer to run scenarios and dungeon crawls and kind of modules and stuff along those lines.
Someone else has done the prep work for you.
Correct.
Amen.
But because of my interest in improv and stuff along those lines, that's the layout. That's what we're going to run. But they may have things written in there on how you're going to defeat them, and the players are not going to follow that. So I just go with it.
Yeah.
So I like having the structure from that aspect, so I don't have to prepare it, but I love telling the story within that structure.
We'll swing back around to Dr. Deb now that you've had some time to...
Well, I do still have a living room, so we're okay.
That's it. Shackle the beast.
Right. I distracted him. I put a tray in the living room, and he was distracted by the tray. Yes.
There you go.
Anyway,
threw that over earlier.
It's nice to be able to distract the little ones who are,
So you were underprepared for that.
I was underprepared for that event. My son, I'm usually underprepared for, as opposed to. So I am the opposite of my husband. So of course we're married because I would be the overprepared one.
You're strong in my weakness, and I am weak in your strength. Wait.
You said the same thing twice.
I think you said the same thing. Anyway, yes, what he just said. In fact, just what we've done today, the prep work, I won't go into it. But the prep work of this, a few minutes ago before we started, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to put in a lot more detail in this. Even though I've already done some decent, for 20 minutes, not too bad. But I'm like, oh no, this has to have a whole lot more detail. Like I've got to figure out what's on these walls, and I've got to make sure I've got this. And is that wood or is that metal? Exactly. Are these metal? Are these wood? Is this? This is where my brain goes. My personality is very. I need to see it, feel it, taste it, or imagine that I'm see it, feel it, taste it to really experience it. And so I need to check to see that my living room is still not destroyed. Actually, I'm pretty sure that is a cookie jar. That's a Fisher-Price plastic cookie jar that just came apart, which is why you heard it. Anyway, once again, hear it, experience it, right? That natural sensory thing. So over-prepare. More is better. Most is best. And realize that the players are going to skip 70% of what I think of. So
more is better, most is best. That's great.
But the players will skip and always head west.
Yeah, and I'm okay. All right, turn it into a poem. Let's do that. I'm a less is more guy for sure. I'm so glad, Joshy, that you were the other person there who said underprepared, because I was like, I'm going to be the only one. Yeah, I very much am a yes am GM. I will write down specific bullet points or have bullet points in my head as to things that I would like to see accomplished during a game, and then that's about 90% of my prep work right there, is just knowing by the end of this game, this is the direction I want people to head. And I am willing to allow certain things to happen within the parameter of time that we have that will sculpt this story to be the story of the people that are sitting at the table versus the story of the person who is writing things down and planning for the weeks prior. Now, that doesn't necessarily eliminate the fact that I'm still sitting there prepping with different ideas for villains or for storyline or something along those lines. But I like to allow probably comparatively, a fairly large amount of creative freedom for the players at my table as well. And in the back of my head, I just kind of have a resolution point or a transition point in mind to move the story along, so that it doesn't. Because I'm not one, though I underprepare, I'm not one who likes to just linger in, let's stand around in a shop for 3 hours and talk to this one goblin about all the potions that he has in the back door. Like, I don't want to do that, because A, it's limiting to the players that are at the table that are not experiencing whatever's going on with that specific character. And B, I want people to have a positive experience with the transition of the story. So I want you to be able to have your conversation with the goblin shopkeep for 20 minutes or so.
But if he has to die of an aneurysm,
right,
to get you to move on,
or even just be extremely, like, I love to give little silly characteristics to some of my people. So maybe I'll give them an annoying voice, or maybe I will give them some sort of weird quirk, or maybe I'll just make them overly flirtatious to just kind of make the player feel just a little uncomfortable, because being a GM is all about playing the psychology of your players. It's all about preparing for the psychology of your players. And I feel like at times, if I over-prepare myself, then I'm not taking into account that what I'm doing is not going to go the way that I plan it to go, because I'm not the one playing through that plot. These players are playing through the plot. And Vanessa, you made a very good point about if they don't go right, sometimes you got to take what was right and turn it left. And sometimes you just go, well, that sucks. I'm just going to use that for a different thing later then, Like, oh, the goblin you could have saved 3 weeks ago is now dead and rotting in a pit because you guys decided not to go that direction. That kind of stuff. So, yes, Lance.
I like where you're going with that. I read something a long time ago that talked about, to get things to be remembered by players, use 3 things to describe it. So if you say short, fat, and hairy, it sticks in their mind a little bit more than you see a kobold or you see a Crenshaw. All right. You see a Crenshaw and you have the picture of it in your
That's the cat,
monster
right?
manual thing. Yes, with the skin that pulls back.
Those are some of my favorite creatures.
But you start to, all right, now I can kind of sort of see it, versus here's the picture of it in the player's handbook, and that's the only picture you get. But if I used to say short, fat, and hairy, you're seeing something, Josh is seeing something different. Avital, when she's not looking at her phone, is looking at something completely different in her mind.
Yeah, I think that, what's interesting too is that at no point are you, whether you over-prepare or under-prepare, at no point are you eliminating techniques. Like Debbie brought up, having certain descriptions for players so that they can get more immersed in whatever's going on. That's always going to be important, whether you're an under-preparer or an over-preparer. If you have in mind, like, for example, if you are trying to describe a pit, like a some sort of fighting pit, a gladiatorial arena, you might describe it in your notes a specific way, but then somebody who maybe doesn't necessarily have notes in front of them, like myself, I know what the smell of blood smells like. I know what a gladiatorial arena looks like. I know what sounds a theater sounds like when there are cheering fans and booing fans and things like that. I can use each one of those experiences personally to add a description to what you have just walked into, even without having that note there, as long as I kind of know the direction of where the party is going. Go ahead, Lance.
And that gets into one of the reasons that I am such an over-preparer. I learned to role-play in the era before minis. And where it was just a story.
Theater of the mind style. Yeah.
So the more description you have available, the more you can get your players to see what it is that you're trying to experience with them. So if you, like she was saying, if you get down to the tapestry looks like this, well, if you mention that, that's got to be important.
Right.
So if there's a red thread going through that tapestry and there's only one, there's going to be a reason.
That might be
I'm
something,
gonna focus
yeah.
on that. So
Yeah.
It's those little details
Yeah.
that get the players, especially old gamey ones, not the ones that look at a battle mat and say, okay, I can see everything.
Right.
The ones that they have to envision it, or visualize it.
In visualize, I dig it.
And that goes to like script writing.
Yeah.
When a writer mentions something specifically, you know it's going to be important. Obviously, they're going to come back. They're not going to say that, and she left her keys on the table, unless that's going to be important later on in the story.
Right. You can always, if you have a bit of an eye for discernment, you can see the plot hooks in the beginning of a story a lot of times, and see where at least the possibility of something coming up might work its way in. I think the more disappointing stories are the ones where they give you either way too many plot hooks, or they give you these things that are significant in the moment, but then never come back around, and you just kind of go, well, what happened about this person, or what happened with that thing, or where did Uncle Jim go when he walked out of the room and said, I'll see you guys in 15 minutes, and then you never see him again. I think that's really interesting. What I think is also really funny is, as someone who doesn't over-prepare, when I'm giving some sort of description of something or someone, how my players, and it may just be my players, it may not, but how my players will cling to whatever that thing is that I never intended to be a plot point, that now turns into an improvisational plot point, and now I'm taking this. The perfect example, the game that I just got done running for my friends and family. There's a character in there that was kind of a reimagining of an old Dungeons and Dragons character that I played years and years and years ago. And one of the items that he was given was a silver dagger. Like, it's a silver... there's nothing to it. It's just a... Don't tell my players that. It's just a silver dagger. But he got it as an initiation into a thieves guild. And he's always had it. It's just on his belt loop. He doesn't really use it. It's almost more ceremonial than useful at times.
Kind of like the mop and bucket for Ravenclaw.
Right. But what's interesting to me is that all of a sudden, that became a focal point that I had not necessarily intended to be a focal point, but it's like, okay, cool. Like, I'm fine with that. If this is what is interesting to you, I'm focused more on what is grabbing you as a player versus what have I written down as this is our game agenda. And there's really nothing wrong with either one, because I think if you're seeking the entertainment and enjoyment of everyone at the table, including the GM, then it's really important to do both, to be able to over-prepare but still have the idea that, well, if this doesn't happen this way, it can still happen that way. If this doesn't go this direction, we can still go that direction. As long as your story stays kind of the center point and your interaction with the players at the table become the center point, then that's really what that preparation is getting ready for, in my opinion. So that being said, I think this is a really good coming off point for
Transition
our
point.
general discussion. Segue,
Or
if you will.
We are
Crossfade.
crossfading into it. This is our transition sequence.
That's it.
Small musical overlay.
Right. So the last few episodes, I guess, we've been talking about designing and encountering different dungeon builds, encouraging players to be engaged as explorers in the encounter that they are having with... I know one of your established facts was something about encountering and exploring and making sure that when you explore that you're encountering something that's worth encountering and exploring.
It was well
something
done.
like that.
It was so well done.
It was good. It was good. I meant to write it down, but I didn't care anymore.
It's one of my longest ones.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was great. So we have kind of taken on a bit of a project at the beginning before our pre-show prep, if you will, our pre-recording prep, we were given some suggestions per Lance.
Because I over-prepare.
Right, which is great. And we're asked if we wanted to build certain dungeon levels.
Layer levels.
Layer levels, yeah. This is a multi-leveled encounter for players. And the challenge rating increases as you're going through different layers of your dungeon / layer.
Different tiers.
Yeah, different tiers, if you will. Yeah.
Layers have tiers.
That's it. Onions have layers. All right. So,
By the way, just because I'm proud of it, when exploring a dungeon looking for an encounter, you should hope to encounter an encounter worth exploring. You know what the hardest part about is that? Saying it.
yeah,
Beautiful.
It.
that's right.
All right, so what are we doing?
I hoped you knew what we were doing.
I'm not in charge of this monkey house.
Yeah, but it was your
well,
idea.
you kind of were. So I'll
Not my monkeys, not my circus.
But you kind of were. So, so Don start and then Lance correct him when he doesn't get it right.
So
Yes,
Well-
and
what we've been given are some directions, not directions as in how to prepare, but directions as in
ways we can go.
ways you can go. I love how this is called Not a Dungeon.
Because it's a layer.
Right. So, what I would like to do, if permissible by everyone else at the table, is each one of us has been given a prompt to build a section of this encounter, the holistic encounter. I would like to pass this around. If it's easier, maybe we can have other people read just the short description, and then the person who planned that level could then kind of go into greater detail as to what they have built for their level of this encounter. Does that sound okay to everybody? Awesome.
Fine with me.
Okay, so we'll start with Lance. He looks like he built the first one, and I'll just go ahead and start with the description. We'll just pass the list around the table as we go. A halfling farming town has complained about a series of kobold raids. The kobolds live in the caves just a few miles from the town. The kobolds found the caves when following ancient lore about one of their draconic ancestors. Is that all you want? Mm-hmm. Okay. Lance, give us a description on what you have laid out for us.
All right. So first thing we have to we talk about is there is a halfling community, and in the caves below them there are kobolds. So what would bring kobolds into caves near halflings?
What would bring kobolds into caves near halflings?
Yeah.
Babies.
Shrooms.
Babies.
If you're playing that sort of game, then yes, all hail King Torg.
All hail
All
King
King
Torg.
Torg.
All hail King Torg.
But this isn't that game. We're doing a Pathfinder base.
Sure.
I bet
So-
babies would still work.
They
What are
might.
some reasons that kobolds would come to a community? What are they looking for?
Are they looking? Well, they could be looking for or escaping from something.
Well, they've been raiding the village. That's what he said. The kobolds have been raiding the halfling. So food is a reason that kobolds would come raid.
Right,
and then
babies.
go back. Or babies.
Jeez.
I got it.
Jeez.
For Torg,
All hail
King
King
Torg. All right, moving on.
what is something else? Just give me one more reason.
Ancient draconic lore.
Ancient draconic lore.
Shelter. Where they were living is no longer livable for them.
Okay, so I like that. We've got the ancient draconic lore.
That's why I said hiding place.
Got
That's what I was
food,
hiding from
hiding
something.
place,
Hidey holes.
those things. So let's imagine that while doing some research for that ancient draconic lore, they stumbled upon these caves, and inside was
I can hear them now.
some babies.
Yep, there we go.
Food.
There we are.
So they went ahead. They moved in. Obviously, if they can move in, there's nothing living in that cave right now.
Right.
But that food's going to run out. And so there just happens to be a group of halflings with a farming community right above them. So they go in, they raid, they get the food, they come back. But they came in search of dragon lore, so let's go into that. They are looking for the dragon lore, and they have encountered something, or they wouldn't have stayed. After they ate, they would have moved on, but they've stayed, so they found something.
Mm-hmm.
What would they have found?
In their little particular cave?
Yeah.
Well, they would have found, I would think, treasure. I mean, ultimately, kobolds are of draconic bloodline as it is, so they would want some sort of hoard.
I would like to build off of what
Yes,
Josh
and.
just said. I'm going to yes and you, Josh. Yes, and in the treasure, they also found a cast statue of Tiamat. And look at it as a gift from an elder dragon god.
Okay, so there is a statue of a dragon-headed being.
Right.
Maybe not
Tiamat, but yeah.
Because, TM and all that.
Tiamat.
Tiamat. So a dragon
Yes,
deity.
a dragon
Okay?
deity.
So I'm going to say that yes, but they found a statue, but it wasn't a dragon. It was some other creature that they then put a dragon's face on.
Oh, I love it.
Okay?
Okay.
Actual face.
Like they plastered
Okay,
a
so
dragon face onto this
Sounds very
thing.
Well, I mean, they
Cool.
could have put an actual face.
But that means that they found this statue already underground. So now we have to figure out who put that statue there.
So,
Anybody?
Oh, so now you're asking who put
Yes.
that? Okay.
Who put the statue there?
Well, I mean, if the caves were originally attached to this halfling village, it is totally believable that the halflings are aware of its existence. So a halfling who happened to find it on their adventuring may be hiding it here until they can figure out what it's worth.
Okay. Anybody else? Another reason that there would be a statue underground.
There was another civilization there before who worshipped it, so
Okay.
it's on top of something else.
I like that because civilizations are built on the ruins of other civilizations. So
Especially U.S., that's hard for us to imagine. As soon as you go to anywhere in Europe or Asia or the Middle East, good Lord, you're standing on top of probably at least 5 cities whenever you're on a city. Case in point, we went to Israel. So, yeah, I mean, I can imagine that, in this, who was there before them is going to be my next question.
maybe the halfling city was built out of the ruins of whatever this old city was, and they've been there long enough that now, they've painted the walls pink and purple and blue, and nobody knows that after this restoration that they, took over this old community that was kind of left deserted.
I think there were, this is a little obvious, I guess, but I think that there were dwarves.
dwarves?
The underground mining, caving people, right? Wouldn't that, it would make sense.
Sure.
If there was a dwarven colony there or a dwarven mining community or something like that, then I just think it would be a really obvious one. They're craftsmen. They could have crafted it themselves. Usually they're stonemasons. There's some type of that aspect. So,
Yep, dwarven stoners.
Wow.
But yeah, so I just like that if the dwarves had the underground city, then the halflings came and found their only their topmost
Right.
outpost,
Surface layers.
outpost, and they're like, oh, look at these lovely built buildings that are more our size.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I like that.
Just
I
built
love it.
for
Yeah.
us.
So
Maybe
that
the
is
city-
headcanon accepted.
Yeah, that's cool. Maybe the city was maybe it's not even a city. Maybe it was just like a little, 5 or 6 buildings that the dwarves used as kind of a trading point for communities that were passing through where they could sell their wares and things like that. And when they were no longer using them. Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Okay, so
Yeah.
right now we've got halflings living above caves where kobolds live.
Yep.
But the kobolds are really living in what used to be a
Dwarven settlement.
mine settlement thing.
Gotcha.
Josh, tell me about the dwarves.
So there is some interest in dwarves in this area, particularly just below this kobold community. Turns out that this mountain range is quite full of gold, which the kobolds are not completely aware of because the dwarves have stripped the area where the kobolds are at pretty well. So, which is why they continued further down.
Thank you, Avital. Thank you. They dug too deep.
God bless you.
It's like this was written before.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Interestingly, though, the dwarven mines that were built underneath this kobold structure are no longer inhabited by dwarves.
Oh.
It is a dwarven structure, no longer inhabited by dwarves. The dwarves have since moved on. Now an orc colony lives down there.
We have so many layers of settlements here.
But it's
like
in
a
but
parfait.
it's in a dwarven community.
Parfait.
Hey.
Ogres have layers. Parfait have layers. Onions have layers.
This is really more like a parfait. Since it's just
Very
kind of
much.
stacked on top
It
of
is definitely a dwarven mining community. There are very, very many elements to it between dwarven rock formations and even a dwarven throne room, because apparently this was the final stop on this mining adventure.
Wow.
King and have a place to sit.
So it's the king's throne, not the other kind of throne. Got it.
Yeah, right.
The king of the rock.
But they have left, and orcs have settled in here that appear to have been here for quite a while. As a matter of fact, I believe the kobolds have been trying to figure out what's happened to them their own selves.
Are they disappearing?
I believe they are. I mean, everyone has a reason for sticking around.
Meat's back on the menu, boys.
But rumors, if rumors are to be believed, these orcs are actually working for something not of this plane.
Not of this.
Not
the
of this place.
orc.
So like what? What? Give us some ideas. Table. Give us some ideas. What are they working
Yes.
Well,
I don't know much about extraplanar beings.
as
Gotta say.
somebody who has also contributed to this, I believe that there may be some sort of daemon presence deep within the minds of these old
Not daemons.
dwarven
for? I have a
settlements.
cousin named Damon.
Do you?
Is
Is he ape-like
fits the
with
bill
horns?
perfect.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There you go. Some sort of summoned extraplanar being
Cousin that's an
Of doom.
extraplanar being?
laying influence upon.
I want one.
But I think that they're having a hard time with that, though. Like
Yeah.
it's a bad Wi-Fi connection.
Sure.
Like sometimes it comes in, sometimes it doesn't.
Or they're a
There's
lesser-
something there that's messing with it.
They may be
with
like a
their-
lesser daemon that doesn't really have the influence that they would need to
No,
control
it's more like
or
they're
suggest.
trying to summon through something or get summoned through something, but there's like this interference.
Sure.
Finally, in this little dwarven mining community now taken over by orcs who are kidnapping kobolds,
Near the halfling town.
So
under the arrangement of a daemon.
right. So the kobolds are stealing babies. Then the kobolds are being stolen by orc.
which
Who
are
are
being
being
controlled by a daemon in a dwarven mining community that
Right.
also happens to have a jail.
Nice.
Why does it have a jail?
So that's a
was
good question.
bad
Why does it have a
dwarf.
jail?
Anyways.
There was a bad dwarf.
Maybe it was
Just one.
maybe it was the prison colony of the dwarves.
Oh.
Maybe they just happened to have settled in an area that they found some deposits of precious minerals, but then once it dried up fairly quickly, they just decided to use it as kind of a
Is this dwarf
the
Australia?
the Australia of dwarven communities.
So
At least temporarily.
Yeah.
something like
Till there was a revolt.
it's a kingdom, but they call it a mine because it used to be a mine, but now it's where they live?
All dwarven kingdoms are mines. They're always digging for stuff.
In a mine.
And they call it a mine.
Well,
Okay. So we got the baddest dwarf. was
Maybe
in
the
prison.
dwarves went
The
missing.
baddest dwarves
Maybe-
in the world.
So you mentioned a revolt, which I like, but on the same note, they could have gone missing because who's to say that the dwarves weren't kidnapped by whoever's below us?
ooh, a lot of kidnapping going on
Oh,
in
there's
this one.
something below us.
There is.
Okay.
Yes. So in this particular level, when and since we're looking at this as a layer building exercise, what I wrote down, which does not have to stay the same, whatever, was that when exiting the kobold layer lands you right in the prison.
Oh, okay.
I feel like we're turning into a geological D&D group.
Well,
When exiting the kobold layer of the crust,
but
It does kind of feel like a volcano.
Exit A of mine is entrance B of yours.
Right, exactly.
Is this an old volcano that we're going
that
down?
kind of. I
Hey,
mean,
it could be. It could
I mean,
be.
part of the reason I really
possibilities.
enjoyed the Emerald Spire and continue to run it is this idea that there is something unique about each level, and there's always a way to get to each level. So when I envision this,
The
and you
door.
mentioned the jail, I totally see something like
Stairs.
there are dwarves down here in this mining community, and they start to hear that there's something going above them. So they put in like a trap door in the jail cell, so that if some idiot finds it, they fall down into the jail.
I dig it. Okay. So we've got
Nice.
dwarves, a bad dwarf in prison.
bad dwarf.
Well, what
else?
if-
What else?
Bad.
Hold on. So we've
He's
got
really
dwarves.
How long do dwarves live? Would he still be around?
Long.
Several
They would still be
hundred.
700, yeah. We have shiny because we have dwarves, right? Dwarves dig for shiny things.
Right.
Yeah, they were looking for gold.
Right. What else?
Hence maybe
likes
the gold at the top of
Dragons.
Dragons
Ooh,
gold.
now we got
like
some
dwarves.
fun.
Dragons like gold and
They,
dwarves.
yeah, exactly.
Because they are crunchy and taste good. with ketchup.
Ketchup. So
Barbecue
what if we had some dragons that had also been there before the dwarves, and all of this lovely shiny stuff they thought was theirs, and the dwarves came in and were
Well, then, but why aren't they on this level?
Did they? Did
because
they
they're one
kill?
level below. Have you not been paying attention?
Okay. There's another exit, by the
Yes.
way, on this dwarven mine area.
Well, that's how they
Yes.
revolted out of the jail. Was they couldn't go up, they went down.
So let's see if I can summarize this one more time.
Oh my God.
We'll move on to the next
Okay.
summarization.
Just pick up from the dwarven colony. How
Yeah,
about
okay. The dwarven colony now currently taken over by orcs who have been kidnapping kobolds who were stealing from the halflings. It's now coming out to find that the gold that was researched here may have actually been found by dragons that may be in a level underneath this dwarven
Maybe it
colony.
How about
wasn't
this?
found by them, it was their horde.
Oh,
Right, I was going to
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
what if they were getting paid off by the folks around them to not like burn them to a cinder?
That makes sense.
They're like a little crime syndicate.
burn them to cinder.
They're the mafia.
Like a dragon.
They are the
who's
Italian
gonna
dragon
eat-
mafia.
It doesn't seem cold enough.
Didn't seem cold enough. What?
Isn't the next
What are you
level
talking
cold?
about? No, we.
Haven't gotten there yet.
They haven't gotten there yet. Okay.
Wow.
I don't know what he's talking about,
Spoiler
but
alert.
anyway,
Spoiler alert.
I don't.
Jeez.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
What does cold have to do
I
with
like
the
it.
dragon?
So we've got
Okay,
dragons
anyway.
that had a horde because they were getting paid
They were the
by
mafia.
people, a civilization above ground, long
halflings?
before the halflings ever found
Oh, okay.
the
Yep,
place.
yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's.
Okay.
As we explore out, we'll find them. But don't worry, that's a later
let's
archaeological
set the
dig.
foundations here.
So their horde was mainly from other civilizations who were saying, "Hey, don't kill us all, but we'll give you lots of shiny to not kill us."
So it's the Templar treasure of dragon hordes.
Sure.
The national treasure
That's it.
of the dwarves.
However, somebody finally decided and said, "I'm not taking this one more minute. We got to hire people
We
to
don't have
take
any
care
more
of this."
gold.
We exactly
We're
we
out
ran
of
out of
gold.
gold.
All we have are all
So-
these swords and shields.
Right, but maybe they got a few casters that could do some spelly stuff
Okay.
and locked up the dragons.
So the dragons are not necessarily dead, they're just
Stuck.
stuck.
Maybe. Or the dragons died. How did the dragons die? Dragons die by living a really, really, really long time.
That's true.
Dragon slayers.
They can also
Yes.
kind of go
Maybe they're
into,
just hibernating.
they could
Yes,
hibernate.
that's
right.
true.
There we go.
Okay. So,
Are they locked in something? Are they
well, we said prison before, right? Now I know we said it was one bad dwarf who got locked in the prison, but could there have been other prisons?
one
That's
bad
how the
dwarf-
jail was originally built.
Right.
Not
One bad
necessarily
dwarf
still
does
there.
not a dragon make.
Okay, fair enough. Other prison cells? That
course.
could have been the dragon prison cells.
There had to be kind of small dragons.
Right. Well, like
Wormlings.
Or really
Wormlings,
big
yeah.
cells.
So right
Yeah.
now they're just really cramped dragons.
There you go.
Because
Really
they
great.
grew,
Yes.
but their cell around them did not.
Did not grow. Right.
Right.
Okay.
So they're a little deformed now because the cell
That's
they
depressing.
couldn't like flap their wings because it's all kind of bent in.
They're
Right.
very angry
They're
dragons.
very angry.
I don't have enough room.
well,
Maybe
and there you go.
Maybe Tiamat is really just somebody's picture of 5 dragons who got stuck in a cell together who couldn't get out.
They got so mad they started casting spells and they merged into one dragon.
The Hydra is just a bunch of dragons that had to force their bodies into one.
That's it.
So
That's it.
So if we want to keep going down this depressing path,
Hang on. So we've got dragons in jail. Who put them there?
well, that's what I was saying.
How horrible would that be if a kobold fell in and got eaten by a dragon?
Could the people have?
My lord.
A kobold would think that's an honor because they're past distant
Right.
relatives, and they were looking for draconic lore.
Oh, is that-
Well, they found it.
There it is.
So the people who were paying them off finally ran out of gold
Sure.
and hired. How would you hire them? They don't have any gold to hire them. I don't know. Maybe they give them a lot of food.
Promised
I don't
them
know.
the horde once they
Once
got
the
them locked
dragons
up.
were locked up and gone, paid off a whole bunch of like casters, like get some wizards and some clerics and people who can cast spells because dragons are magical creatures. Regular commoners aren't going to be able to fight that magic, but spellcasters
Could you write something in the walls that could be a magic that keeps them in there? So once they get big
Oh,
enough
that's
and
cool.
it starts to break, then the magic breaks and they can
Sure.
finally get out.
Okay, so like,
After they've learned their lesson.
Bad
don't you
dragon.
do that ever again?
Well, I can outlast this.
Shame on you! Don't you do that again? Hand slap, paw slap,
What
something.
is it? Big B's
I don't want to claw.
sphere?
Bigby's slapping hand.
yes.
A claw slap
the-
sounds.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right. Well, I've been throwing ideas out. Somebody else
With a
help
permanent
me
Well,
out
it would
here.
take them a while to grow big enough to crack the walls to break the.
Well, that's also
break the
taking into
runes.
consideration that they have anything to consume in order to grow.
Of course they do.
Oh, that's true. What
Every idiot that falls through that door.
There we go. They get that one dwarf.
Someone's coming.
The one dwarf that doesn't pay attention to safety regulations. He goes,
Yeah.
Who are the
You know,
the
if you knew what
sailor
traps
people
are
that
in this
sing
room-
that always make sailors go and crash?
Sirens.
Sirens. So it could be like a siren dragon. So it like sings people there to them to
It
their
just
death.
alerts people that there's danger. It's a siren.
No,
It's a
it brings
siren.
them to them.
Evacuate.
More like them be like a
Come with me.
Yeah,
and
come with
you'll
me.
be-
Yeah, that's right.
like the mockingjay
That's
type
great.
Come here so I
thing
can
that
eat you.
mimics things.
Oh, yeah.
So
Cool.
It's just
anything it's like heard.
So did we decide the dragons? Did they die or did they escape?
no, they're still
they're still
escaping.
Are we? Well,
They're in the
wait.
process.
I'm
In
confused.
the
Are we
process of
today or
escape.
are we like hundreds and hundreds of
No, we're
years ago?
today.
I'm confused in the timeline.
Wait.
They
okay.
grew up.
Maybe the dragons were imprisoned hundreds and hundreds of years ago,
Okay.
but they are escaping now.
Right.
Which is going to
Escaping.
be a problem for the orcs and the kobolds and, the halflings.
Now wait, are the dwarves still alive? Hold on. Did we kill them off?
We don't know. They're
Oh.
not, they. We don't know if they have
They left.
ran away or have been taken.
They were
Okay.
snacks.
which is why I was trying to throw that at you for whoever does the next level that the dwarves are missing.
Oh, everyone's missing. What happened?
Maybe they're enslaved by the siren.
This dungeon just gets more
Dragon.
and more kidnapping.
Is there a siren dragon? Did I just make up a
This
dragon?
is
right.
a creeper mountain.
I think that the
Mount Creeper.
dragons
That's-
had to
Mount
have
Creeper.
some jail keepers.
Okay.
Let's
go with that.
I think dragons had to have a jail keeper, and so someone to make sure that they stayed put. Because if they started escaping, this would be bad for all of the people we just mentioned.
It
So
would-
what if you put a bunch of
Knights.
paladins?
I was.
Paladins.
Right? You think of them as either the knights, like kind of. I mean, you could do knights or like fighters, but I'm thinking paladins because they have some casting ability, some magic, but not a whole lot.
Now, are these going to be paladins that live forever?
No, these are going to be paladins that have a normal lifespan, so they're going to have to like trade out. So like you do your service for a few years.
Are they dwarven paladins so they can be there longer, or
Oh, I was going to say
I would
long
think-
live race.
Elven
Elves
paladin.
or elves.
There
and
you go.
dwarves.
elven paladins?
Elven paladins. Yep, I like that.
Ultimate high and mighty paladin.
Absolutely. Yep.
I'm
Totally
gonna
full
go
of
with
themselves.
they forgot to switch out.
Oh.
Right.
Oh dear.
So it's kind of like you hear about these stories in Japan where there's this person that's still guarding something from
Right.
World War II because they were never told
To stand down.
that it was to stand down. So they're still there. We're never
Right.
told to stand down. We're never
Gotcha.
switched out with.
Okay.
And they raising their children to also be the cover. So it's become like a
So
generational
there has to be
thing.
at least one male and one female if that's how this particular.
What if
Because they could just be like plants.
what if the original city was a small elven community put there to guard the cell of these ancient dragons that had been captured, and the only two existing members of that city that had not been killed, destroyed, or left are still standing guard at that dragon's cell?
Or at least
I
their,
dig it.
or at least their family. Like it's a family traditional thing.
Yeah.
because that would be a really long time to live. So they've
Okay,
grown up.
so
they've
yeah.
raised all of their kids to be
Son
like, this
of,
is what we
daughter
do.
of.
Yeah,
The original.
So sort of like the
Okay.
priests of the Old Testament were in that family. That was
It
what
had to
you
be one
did.
big cell because if it's been hundreds of years and the dragon is still there,
he's cramped.
Is he still there?
No, he's still there.
Or is he dead and they've just
it
gone
either had to be a
crazy?
huge cell or something that prevents the dragon from growing in size.
Well, I like the idea that if these elves did lock it up, they're going to make it so that there's room for this thing to grow, because elves are not without mercy.
True. They'll keep
What if
chiseling away.
what if it's the statue that the kobolds found earlier?
I dig it.
So the
No,
prison.
that'd be a dwarven one because the dwarves were the ones that put it there.
Oh no! Well, as far as we know, what if the
you're saying
dwarves
is
found it?
Potentially, the prison
Okay.
is the fact that they have taken a dragon and baleful
Petrified it.
polymorphed it into this statue.
Or that the statue is actually what has the ability to maintain the dragon's size.
Oh,
Because-
yeah!
because-
It's the key to everything.
Because if that statue is taken and destroyed, that dragon's going to explode out that.
you know what I
mountain.
love about that? You know what I love about
like
that?
it.
Yes.
Yay, dragons
What
with
I
his cramp.
personally love about that is that the object is found at the very beginning of the
Yes.
freaking game.
Yes.
And you're walking around with this trophy. You're like, yeah. And then all of a sudden at the end, you find out, had you let that thing. Oh my gosh. I
You
love
drop it, it breaks the head off, and the dragon
The
just
If you guys saw How to Train Your Dragon 2, where that monstrous dragon came out of the mountain,
Yeah.
you remember that really big dragon with the tiny wings?
The alpha.
Yep. I think that.
Do you
yes.
did you not see
Sorry,
that? Okay,
I don't remember if I did.
So-
A really
okay.
big dragon
The-
comes out of the water.
That's exactly what happens. It's as if it blows out the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
Nice.
And actually, that happened in the second Dungeons and Dragons movie too. They relinquished this big undead dragon thing who blew out of
Dracolich.
the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but even
we don't
if-
talk about that
How
movie.
to Train Your
The
Dragon.
second one was good. It was not well funded, but it was good. The first one was junk. Anyways,
Let's get back. We've got some elves, paladins that have stayed behind to guard this dragon.
These
They have
dragons
had
were-
children who are now tasked with doing so. They have been promised that they'll get reprieved, but for some reason that hasn't happened.
Has not happened.
Okay, so
because the people who are going to reprieve him are dead
Or forgot.
or,
Or they
forgot,
forgot. Good
or
answer.
either one. Yes.
what next? Why haven't the elves left? Why haven't they just said, "Okay, look, it's been a long time. I need to go."
Because that's where they were stationed, and that's what they're supposed to do until they're relieved. So
And they're
waiting to get
paladins,
relieved.
which means they're lawful.
Yep. They're going to stay there until they're relieved.
Right.
Okay.
Because that would
Or
be,
die.
Or die.
At
yeah.
their
Because
post.
they can't.
Oh. Are they?
some reason.
Have we decided they're still alive, or did they die?
Their children are.
Their children are still alive. Okay.
They're the ones who are guarding the dragons now.
Like, okay, so we mentioned Damon influence. Like, there could be some, some deep thing that the elves, like, literally can't leave. Like, that is holding them there because it wants the hold the dragon there, too.
Okay,
Something
Like
deeper
what?
still.
I like it. Keep going. Yes, and
Or the statue is their contract as well.
I mean, the statue is part of it, obviously, because it's what is keeping the dragon small.
It's the key.
But there's little birds. We can hear them. There's like this extra planar creature has been. It wants to keep the dragon there because perhaps the dragon has some innate skill that could defeat the extra planar creature.
Okay.
Perhaps
Okay. Or at least it's a mighty enough
foe that would cause it problems.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so we've spent, I don't know, a good almost hour on just the first 3 areas of this layered dungeon encounter thing. We have a few more that we want to go over and some other fun stuff we want to add to it. So I think what we have decided, we're going to kind of conclude our discussion as of right now. Where we're at, I hope you were taking notes. I know that Lance surely was.
I prepare everything.
Everything. That's awesome. So I do hope that you have enjoyed this exploration and the creation of a dungeon. If you have not gotten a chance to do this on your own, creating a dungeon, that is, I definitely encourage you to try your hand at it. Maybe use some of the techniques that we've been doing if you want to collaborate with other people. If you are interested in running a game, there are lots of really cool things that you can do to get into that, whether it's use a module or tons of advice from friends that you have that may already do that, that sort of thing.
There are even dice that will help you just
Right,
roll
absolutely.
a dungeon.
Yep.
There's lots of really cool tools online that you can find as well for like different plot hooks and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely encourage anybody who, especially longtime players, take an opportunity and run a game, whatever your system may be. And I think personally, when I started running games, it gave me a much more appreciation for the player-GM connection. And when I play games now, I am a lot more observant to how I can help the GM at the table so that they have a much easier way about things. Anyway, a couple of cleanup things, if you will. Please come and see us, and I say us as in the Established Facts podcast and the improv company that Josh and I are in called Breakfast Anytime Improv. We're going to be at Indie PopCon. We have a show on Friday night at 8 o'clock. We will post the information online so that you can come and see us. We would love to interact with any of our listeners or people that are just fans of improv. We've been doing improv for almost 4 years now. And last year we did the PopCon. We did a show at PopCon, and it was a lot of fun. And this year I think it's going to be even more. So please come and join us there.
We are also planning. So PopCon, by the way, is June 7th through 9th.
Right.
June 7th through the 9th. Just check out popcon.us. Should be able to get all the information you need. And we even shared recently, Groupon is selling single day tickets for like $25 instead of $40.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are also planning a panel where 3 or 4 of us, if we can, are going to do episode 200 live from PopCon.
That's right.
Where
200 episodes.
200 episodes, yeah. Yeah.
I won't be there, sad.
So I'm excited about that kind of stuff. I know we've got other I think do we have 2 panels at PopCon? Are we doing
Breakfast Anytime is also doing their We're Mental
health?
Yeah.
We're mental for improv or something like that. It's a
Yes, and We're Mental, I think
that's
is what
it.
it's called.
That's it. Yeah, and which is, I think, when we did it last year at Starbase Indy, it was awesome. Being able to kind of talk to people about how several of our members have used improv to help them with their own, with whatever they're dealing with, depression or bipolar or different medical diagnosis or mental diagnosis and things like that, to be able to use improv as a tool to kind of help them through those hard times and stuff like that. So please come and check us out. Check out all of our programming. Check out all of PopCon's programming. That's coming up really, really, really soon. We're really excited about it. That being said, on episode 196, we established that wizards are terrified of wormholes, unless they make sense. Yeah. Again, I need to listen all the way through that to understand that reference, but I'm okay with that. On this episode 197, BYOD, we have established two established facts.
Ooh.
I'm overachieving because I was underprepared. So, our first established fact: more is better, most is best. But remember, your players are your true test. That is one.
Lovely.
I love it too. And two, as true to a good dungeon, good parfaits also have layers. Thank you so much for listening to episode 197 of The Established Facts. And unlike Joshy, I will check you later.
Bye.
Deuces.
Please visit us at www.theestablishedfacts.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/theestablishedfacts. If you would like to support us by buying some merchandise, visit cafepress.com/castingrobot.
Bonus.